Is playing it too safe with your money silently killing your financial goals? Ben Franklin's famously quoted for his biblically inspired belief that idle hands are the devil's playthings. Today, I'd like to discuss another potentially disastrous effect that idleness can have on our prosperity, and that is idle, aka lazy money. Later in this video, I'll share with you how we were recently able to add the equivalent of an extra Social Security retirement benefit for one of our clients without having her take on any additional significant amount of risk. With all the uncertainty in today's economic and political environment, it's hard to have any confidence about knowing where to save and invest your money. Look, it's completely natural to be hesitant when it comes to being reluctant and not wanting to take on risk during turbulent times. What many people don't realize, however, is that there is substantial long-term cost to playing it safe while not having your money work for you. While a 2 to 3% interest rate on your savings account may feel like you've hit the lottery based on how low interest rates have been recently, it's also important to consider that inflation recently has also been as high as 8%. So if you're earning 3% on your savings and inflation is at even 6%, for example, you're actually losing purchasing power. The good news is that there's an entire class of assets that is commonly overlooked. We like to refer to assets that provide an opportunity for significant, oftentimes double-digit growth potential with minimal, if any, potential for loss of principal as safe money. While it may not sound as exciting as terms like derivatives, speculative investing, crypto, or alternative assets, we believe that safe money assets provide a tremendous amount of peace of mind, and that's something you can't put a price tag on. If you're an entrepreneur, you probably understand that taking calculated risks is a requirement to grow. This is not only true when it comes to your business, but also your finances and even your personal growth. Today, we're going to highlight 3 concepts that you could take advantage of that really have the potential to generate competitive returns on your money, but will also do so in a safe, relatively low-risk manner. We believe that having a balanced financial strategy involves having assets and protection in place that will provide safety and growth in a wide range of economic conditions, not just when markets are up and the economy is thriving. So, how do we do that? A number of ways, but 3 of them, like I said, we'll discuss here. The first is upside participation and downside protection. So what does that mean? Let me ask you this as a way to kind of get to the explanation. If you were to design your ideal place to save money, what type of characteristics would that vehicle have? For many, the idea of being able to participate in gains when certain segments of the market perform well, while being protected from losses when the market performs poorly, sounds like an ideal scenario, right? I mean, imagine if you were investing in another asset, let's say real estate, and you were able to enter into an agreement that was structured in a way that if the house appreciated in value, you gained equity and were able to lock in that growth. But when the housing market was down and the property value declined, you were still able to keep that equity that you earned on the way up. Sounds too good to be true, right? Well, it might be in real estate, but it's not with certain types of financial assets. And those are some of the ones that we often recommend. The second concept we'll discuss is something that we refer to as lock and reset. Now, the lock and reset concept is really a result of the first concept that we mentioned, being able to take advantage of gains while being protected from losses. But the lock and reset more specifically in the context of certain indices means that as the underlying assets increase in value, you're going to earn an interest rate that is tied to this increase. So once you receive that interest credit, it is locked in. So let's say you go from your asset level or your index value is 100, goes up to 110, you're going to lock in that 10% growth. No matter what happens in the future, that 10% credit is going to stick with you inside of your contract. Even more importantly, when the market does come back down or have a correction, let's say it goes up to 110 like we described and then comes back down to 100, that creates a new baseline or starting point for the next measurement period. So now you get into year 3, and even though you're back at the original 100, your account has 110 because you locked it in on the upside. You didn't lose anything when it came back down to 100. And let's say the third period, you have another 10% growth. what that means is that even though you're only back to 110 in the contract, um, under normal circumstances, you would be at 121 with the lock and reset feature. And again, the reason for that is you earned 10% on that first 10% increase. You stayed at zero when the market retracted 10%, and then you had a 10% growth on the 110. So that gives you 121, where everybody else that would have been directly involved in the investment in this example would only be at less than the original amount. So that's a very valuable feature of the lock and reset. Again, in a volatile market, when the markets come down, it creates a lower starting point. So it allows you to kind of ratchet up any gains that you have based on the index performance. So obviously that over a long period of time creates tremendous opportunity for growth, again, in a safe manner. And that is one of the few scenarios where you can really benefit from volatility, again, because of the fact of that lower decreased starting point. So the third concept we'll go over is tax-deferred guaranteed interest rates. For those of us who have been more reluctant to take risks with our money, there is one opportunity to take advantage of higher interest rates over the last 18 months that may not actually be around for much longer. Based on where interest rates are anticipated to go. But that is the ability to lock in a high fixed interest rate on your savings. So we're going to discuss that today, but more specifically, we're going to discuss locking in high interest rates in a tax-deferred contract. So the federal funds rate, just to give you some historical context, which is what drives all other interest rates, including savings rates, has gone from less than 0.5% for almost a 2-year period from 2020 towards the end of 2021 to recently where it's been at over 5%, which is over a 900% increase. A lot of people don't think of being at 5% as being that significant, but when you're talking 900%, that's 9 times what you originally had as an opportunity to save. So while we have taxable savings vehicles like CDs, which offer the opportunity to lock in those interest rates, there's 2 distinct disadvantages as far as we're concerned with using products like CDs. Generally, CDs are much shorter in duration, so oftentimes you have less than a 12-month or up to a 12-month lock-in period, which means it's great because you can lock in those rates for that period of time, but then at the end of that period, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, you are going to be subject to then current interest rates at the end of that period. Sometimes CDs can even be 3 to 5 years in duration, but generally speaking, right now we're seeing that the longer the CD, the lower the interest rate that a bank is willing to credit you or guarantee you for a longer period of time. More importantly, however, is that CDs are taxed as earned, which means that the interest you earn each year is subject to federal income tax. In other words, if you were to earn 5% on a CD, your interest earnings could be decreased by anywhere from, depending on your tax bracket, 20 to 25% every year due to income taxes. This is obviously going to decrease the amount of interest you earn each year, and over a longer period of time, serve as an anchor on your ability to kind of grow that portion of your savings. The opposite of this, however, is a tax-deferred vehicle, which allows this interest to grow tax-deferred, so it's not taxed as it's growing. So when you're earning 5%, you're getting credited 5%. Following year, you earn a 5% compound rate on the original 5. Over a 5-year period, 7, 10-year period, that can be really significant in having the tax-deferred growth, and then you don't have to worry about taxes until you actually access the money. So hopefully those 3 concepts, which again, first one being upside participation with downside protection, second one being lock and reset, where you're locking in your gains, and then being able to reset the starting point as markets come back down. And then third, tax deferred and guaranteed rates of return, where your ability to lock up a savings rate that is higher than it's been historically in quite some time, but also to grow tax deferred so that you don't have to pay income taxes and decrease your earnings as you're going. So, if you're interested in still playing it relatively safe, but also getting into the game, so to speak, let's discuss a more aggressive strategy for your safe assets, or maybe even a safer strategy for your more aggressive assets. Either way, you can contact us by clicking on the link below or visiting our website at www.yourpeaklegacy.com. Thanks for taking time to watch the video. By the way, we didn't get to our case study. If you're interested in a written example or a quick conversation about what we were able to do to create that additional Social Security income for one of our clients, please reach out. We'd be more than happy to share with you. Take care.